war to end all wars. Now, whether you have been in Scientology a month, a year, a decade, or more, you have seen some part of our battles. You deserve to know the full magnitude of the suppression we have faced.
For the Church of Scientology, getting a tax-exempt status from the IRS to be recognized as a church was an extremely important hurdle, characterized to members as a war against the church for years. According to senior executive of the church, Mark Rathbun, thousands of members filed over 2,400 lawsuits against the IRS, along with multiple private investigators being hired with the hopes of exposing vulnerabilities within the IRS. This attack against the IRS led to them facing major pressure from the church. David Miscavige then reportedly walked straight into the then commissioner of the IRS, Fred T. Goldberg's office, and told him in a private meeting that it could all go away if they were given a tax-exempt status. Strangely, after this meeting in 1993, the IRS granted a full tax exemption to the church, puzzling everyone.
We did meet with the commissioner, and as the saying goes, the rest is history.
Many believe that if this had not have happened, the church may have fallen due to financial strains. Instead, it now allowed the church to grow and remain strong, as their tax exemption allows them to profit an extra $20 million a year. The validation of being seen as a church strengthened many of its members as believers of the religion. It also opened up a stream of recruiting new members. Their classification as a non-for-profit allows them to have major tax write-offs. In order to maintain this status, however, their millions of dollars of donations have to be put towards expanding what they call their square footage. This is in order to give off the appearance of a growing religion, both to their own followers and to outside people looking in. They have thousands of these large, extravagant buildings that are often empty and go unused. Their members are taught that the religion is ever expanding across the globe with millions of followers. The reality, however, is that the true number is believed to be as small as only 10 to 25,000 people in America, a number that has continuously shrunken over years, as in 2001 there was an estimated 55,000. Despite the church losing members, those within the church continue to be misled by Scientology's leaders, who claim a shocking 10 million members worldwide. Despite the low numbers though, the church continues to purchase real estate and builds new churches in order to hold on to their tax-exempt status. Throughout the years, literally thousands of people have left or have even had to escape the church. These people's stories all too often have horrific accusations of being stalked, harassed, and intimidated by the church. If a member leaves the church, their entire family must then cut all ties with them. They will never see them again for as long as they remain within Scientology. Many have children, parents, grandchildren, and entire families that they will now have no contact with. The family they leave behind is told that they are never to make contact again and are told absolutely shocking lies about why the church had to cut ties with them, rather than the truth of the matter, that they escaped. Beyond that, the church actually promotes family to push away and shun their own families who have left, as the belief that they will become impure and hinder their spiritual awareness. The fear of the church often will override the love of family. Incredibly, the church actually has a doctrine that allows for and even encourages harassment and smear campaigns against anyone leaving the church or those who are against them. One such example is Paulette Cooper, who is a known activist against the church, publishing a book revealing the corruption of Scientology. As the church often does, they retaliated. She was routinely harassed, spied on, and attacked. However, the worst came when they sent false bomb threats under her name to police, leading to her eventual arrest. In prison, the harassment only continued. This eventually led to Cooper attempting suicide. For those who escape, they often remain silent about the truth of both why they left and what went on behind the scenes of Scientology, for the fear of what the church can and almost certainly will do to them. The reason for members being so relentless in tracking down and harassing those who have left is because they are told that this is their moral obligation to force them to come back. L. Ron Hubbard's death in 1986 was a major ordeal for the church, as the man was seen as the equivalent of what the Pope means to Catholics, but for Scientology. Hubbard passed away as a result of being sick for weeks, hiding away from public. However, the way that he died of sickness directly contradicts Scientology's beliefs that any sickness or mental illness one goes through is a direct result of not being spiritually healthy. Anything, including sickness, can be healed with spiritual healing and purification through auditing and gaining higher levels of OT within the church. If this is true, however, L. Ron Hubbard could not have died the way that he did, as he was the highest ranking member of Scientology when he passed away. He therefore was spiritually stronger than any other member. The church was aware of this contradiction, and what followed was remarkable. Rather than telling its members that his death was from an illness and an eventual stroke, the church claimed this:
the body of L. Ron Hubbard was sound and strong and fully capable of serving this mighty Thetan for many years, had that suited his purposes.
Lying to its members was crucial and the only way to keep Scientology intact. But what was even more remarkable was their explanation of his death by the eventual new head of Scientology, David Miscavige. Miscavige was the first to address the death, telling them that Hubbard had reached the highest possible level he could while in human form.
At this level of OT, the body is nothing more than an impediment and encumbrance to any further gain as an OT. Thus, at 2,000 hours Friday, the 24th of January, AD 36, L. Ron Hubbard discarded the body he had used to facilitate his existence in this messed universe had ceased to be useful.
Not only were members outrageously misled, Miscavige claimed that Hubbard had left behind 2 new OT levels for members to look forward to purchasing in the future once their time came. Not only did they lie about Hubbard's death, but they used it to now make more money.
The body is a physical object. It is not the being himself. The being we knew as L. Ron Hubbard still exists. However, the body he had could no longer serve his purposes. This decision was one made at complete cause by L. Ron Hubbard.
Scientology has many practices that most would consider to be strange. One of such is that people within the church are made to write up reports on one another anytime someone commits or says something that is non-optimal. In other words, anything that goes against what the church believes in. These letters are written to the church on the premise that if you don't report something that you should have and the church finds out, you will be punished. But if you do report it, the person who committed the act will be purified and helped by the church. Although the reality is, they are often simply audited and even verbally abused. This practice gets more unnerving when involving children. Many children in the religion are born into the religion and get little to no proper public education. Rather, they are taken out of schools and trained in Scientology for as long as 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. These kids are essentially brainwashed their entire lives to believe and follow in Scientology. Learning the religion thoroughly, they are expected to tell on their own parents when they fall out of line or commit any acts shunned upon by the church. Those who believe in the religion will often refuse to even listen to, watch, or look into anything that is against the church, due to the fact that they would then have to report to higher ups of their wrongdoings. If someone within the religion were to Google anything opposing Scientology, they must then report that they did so the very next day, writing a letter of what they did. They are then told that they have committed a sin and are interrogated. Verbal abuse again is very common, being told that they aren't following correctly and that their own transgressions are the reasoning for any doubts because they are hindering their spiritual awareness. In order to save themselves the pain and struggle, they simply put all their faith into the religion. Thus, many never even question anything that they are told in order to avoid the process. For anyone joining Scientology, they must first go through a process of what the church calls being audited. This process involves only you and another person, the auditor. This is meant to clear you of all negative influences known by the church as engrams in order to fully heighten their spiritual awareness. By doing so, it is believed by the church that they are able to access untapped potential. This process is a grueling one that completely reveals people's personal lives and thoughts, which are then all kept on record by video recordings. Things like sins, doubts, and even their sex lives that may involve any sexual indiscretions are forced to be revealed. Members reveal this information complying thoroughly as they believe that it will allow them to untap spiritual awareness that they can't if they hold on to this baggage. These recordings are then kept on file for the rest of their lives and are often used to manipulate members into believing these past sins are the reasoning for their current hardships. This often leads members to only put more money towards the church in order to further reach untapped potential. Other times, they are used as a form of blackmail in later years should these people decide to leave the church. An example of such is John Travolta. Despite Travolta refusing to be taped on camera during sessions, the church hid secret cameras recording all of his confessions. Travolta reportedly began having thoughts of leaving the church, to which the church created a blackmailed PR folder of former auditing sessions which potentially had extremely damaging material. This way of creating fear among members is often a large reason for people to remain within the church, simply to keep damaging material from being released. Part of what makes Scientology interesting is their former use of the Apollo, a giant ship owned by L. Ron Hubbard that he would bring out into the oceans and sail around the world holding secret meetings on board, far from anyone on land. Auditors who made any mistakes during these sessions were punished by being thrown overboard 30 feet down into the cold, deep waters. This Apollo ship laid the foundations for what is today Sea Org, a private navy operating strictly for the church. Sea Org is considered by many as one of the headquarters for Scientology, where some of the heads and highest ranking members of the church live and work. Those among the religion that gain ranks and are promoted to higher status aim at living here, as the Sea Org is sold to members as a fantasy to glamour, celebrities, and power. The grim reality, however, is that the buildings are heavily secured with surveillance cameras and double fences, keeping everyone out and forcing those within to remain. Those who even express feelings of wanting to leave have no way of doing so. They must escape as if prisoners. For these members, the church is extremely strict on a no sex outside of marriage policy, as well as not allowing members to have any children. For any woman within Sea Org who becomes pregnant, they are immediately scheduled for an abortion. Those who refuse are then immensely harassed and pressured into having an abortion, and are also forced into physical labor until complying. This is because becoming pregnant while being a Sea Org member is considered a mortal sin. If someone escapes, they are then essentially hunted. The church targets any family members and previous jobs and anything that they can to then find them.